The bright morning sky over Washington, D.C. suddenly darkened as the massive alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere. People stopped and stared upward, mouths open in shock. Car horns blared as traffic halted. This was not a drill or a movie. Aliens had come to Earth. John Miller stood at attention on the White House lawn alongside other military officers. As a Navy lieutenant with 10 years of service, he had seen many things, but nothing like this. His heart pounded in his chest as the alien craft hovered silently above them. "Steady," whispered Admiral Cole beside him. "Remember your training." John almost laughed. There was no training for first contact with aliens. No one on Earth had prepared for this day. The president stepped forward with her advisors as a beam of blue light shot down from the ship. Within the light, a figure materialized. It stood 7 feet tall with grayish-blue skin and 4 arms. Its large eyes blinked slowly as it surveyed the humans before it. "I am Grand Emissary Krell of the Zantary Collective," the alien said in perfect English. "We come in peace to welcome Earth into the galactic community." The world watched through live broadcasts as humanity made its first official contact with alien life. The Zantary claimed to represent a federation of 7 advanced species who had been observing Earth for decades. Now they felt humans were ready to join them. 3 days later, John found himself assigned as military liaison to the aliens. He reported to a newly established contact center where he met Dr. Lisa Brown. Lisa was a linguist who specialized in communication systems. With dark curly hair and bright eyes that missed nothing, she had a reputation for learning languages faster than anyone else at the university. The government had immediately recruited her to work with the aliens. The Zantary language has 42 different sounds our vocal cords can't even make, Lisa told John as they walked toward the meeting room. "But thankfully, they've adapted to speak our languages." John nodded. "Convenient. Almost too convenient, don't you think?" Lisa gave him a sharp look. "You don't trust them." "I don't trust anyone I just met, especially when they show up with technology centuries ahead of ours," John replied. Their conversation ended as they entered the conference room. Grand Emissary Krell sat with 3 other Zantary representatives. Their extra arms moved constantly, making small gestures that seemed part of their communication. "Lieutenant Miller, Dr. Brown," Krell said, "please join us. We have much to discuss about our cultural exchange program." Over the next few weeks, the Zantary shared medical advancements that cured 3 previously untreatable diseases. They provided clean energy technology that could power entire cities without pollution. World leaders welcomed them as saviors, and most people embraced the aliens with excitement and hope. The Zantary established bases in 12 countries, including a large compound in the Nevada desert. They claimed these were cultural centers meant to help humans understand their new galactic neighbors. John spent his days escorting Zantary officials to meetings and learning about their culture and technology. At night, he recorded detailed notes about everything he observed. Something about the aliens bothered him, though he couldn't put his finger on what it was. 2 months after first contact, John met Lisa for coffee near the Lincoln Memorial. "They're giving us everything we've ever wanted," Lisa said. "Advanced medicine, clean energy, faster transportation. Why do you still look worried?" John stared at the ripples in his coffee. When someone gives you everything without asking for anything in return, you have to wonder what they really want. Lisa frowned. "Maybe they're just nice." "Maybe," John agreed. "Or maybe they're setting us up for something. I just wish I knew what." As they spoke, another Zantary ship arrived in the atmosphere, larger than any before. The dawn of a new era for humanity continued, bright with promise but shadowed by uncertainty. 6 months passed since the Zantary arrived on Earth. Their bases expanded across all continents. The main compound in Nevada had grown to the size of a small city. John Miller drove his Jeep along the perimeter fence, noting the new structures that seemed to appear overnight. His official job was to escort alien visitors and maintain good relations, but John had started to gather information on his own. Today, He noticed 3 large dish-shaped objects being installed on the eastern side of the compound. They looked like communication devices, but much bigger than anything he had seen before. John took photos with a small camera hidden in his watch. Admiral Cole had given him this special equipment after John shared some of his concerns. "Keep your eyes open," the Admiral had told him, "but keep your thoughts to yourself for now." Later that day, John met Lisa Brown at a small diner outside Las Vegas. They chose a booth in the back where no one could overhear them. Lisa looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. "I've been studying their language database," she said quietly. "There are words they never translate for us, and some of the translations they do provide don't match with their actual meanings." John leaned forward. "How do you know that?" "I created a program to analyze patterns in their speech. When they talk among themselves, they use certain words only when discussing Earth's resources or military bases." Lisa pushed a small data drive across the table. "I recorded everything." John took the drive and slipped it into his pocket. "I've noticed strange equipment at the Nevada base. They claim it's for cultural exchange, but it looks more like they're scanning the planet." "For what?" Lisa asked. "Resources, maybe. Military targets. I'm not sure yet." John sipped his coffee. "Have you noticed how they always answer our questions, but never really tell us anything important?" Lisa nodded slowly. "Last week, I asked about their home planet. Grand Emissary Krell talked for 20 minutes about their beautiful cities and culture, but never mentioned where it is, how far away, or any actual facts." The next morning, John drove to a secure military facility under the Rocky Mountains. Admiral Cole met him in a room with no windows and no electronic devices. "What did you find?" Cole asked. John placed Lisa's data drive and his own photos on the table. "The Zantary are mapping our planet. They're particularly interested in mineral deposits and military installations, and Dr. Brown has evidence they're not being honest in their translations." Admiral Cole studied the photos. "Our satellite images show similar equipment at their bases in Africa and Asia." He looked up at John. "The President still believes they're here to help us. Most people do. We need more proof before we can raise the alarm." "Sir, by then it might be too late," John argued. "Keep working with Dr. Brown. Document everything. I'll get you access to more secure areas." Cole gathered the materials. "And Lieutenant, be careful. We don't know what they're capable of." 2 days later, John entered the Nevada compound for a scheduled meeting. He walked past areas that were usually closed to humans. In one room, the door was slightly open. John glanced inside and froze. A large 3-dimensional map of Earth floated in the center. Red dots marked major cities and military bases. Blue areas highlighted regions rich in rare minerals. A Zantary voice spoke nearby. John quickly moved away from the door and continued walking. His heart beat faster as he realized what he had seen. This was no cultural exchange. The aliens were planning something, and Earth needed to know what it was. That night, John called Lisa. "We need to meet. I found something." He kept his words vague, aware that his phone might not be secure. "Tomorrow morning, at the park," she replied. Understanding his caution. As John hung up, he looked out his window at the night sky. The stars no longer seemed peaceful. Something was coming, and Earth wasn't ready for it. Almost 2 years had passed since the Zantary first arrived on Earth. People had grown used to seeing the alien ships in the sky. Children played with Zantary toys. Adults used Zantary technology in their homes. The world had changed, mostly for the better. John Miller sat in a meeting room at the White House with other military officers and government officials. Grand Emissary Krell was scheduled to make an important announcement. John glanced at Admiral Cole, who looked tense. They had been gathering evidence about the Zantary's true intentions for months, but no one in power would listen. Lisa Brown rushed into the room and sat next to John. "Sorry I'm late," she whispered. "I was analyzing those new transmissions from their ships." "Did you find anything?" John asked quietly. Lisa nodded. They've been sending signals to somewhere beyond our solar system. The messages increased by 300% in the last week. Before John could respond, the doors opened and Grand Emissary Krell entered with 6 other Zantary. They moved with a new confidence, almost arrogance. Krell stood at the front of the room and activated a floating screen. "People of Earth," Krell said, his voice broadcasting worldwide. "For 2 years, we have observed your civilization closely. We have shared our gifts and studied your response. Today marks the end of this evaluation period." John felt his stomach tighten. This wasn't the friendly announcement everyone expected. "The Zantary Collective has determined that Earth requires direct supervision," Krell continued. "Your species has shown destructive tendencies and cannot be trusted with advanced technology without proper guidance. As of today, Earth is officially a protected territory under Zantary control." The room erupted in shouts and questions. The president stood up, her face red with anger. "This is unacceptable," she said firmly. "Earth is a sovereign planet. We welcomed you as guests, not rulers." Krell's 4 arms moved in a dismissive gesture. "Your welcome is appreciated but unnecessary. We have already established control of your orbital systems and key military installations. This is not a negotiation." Admiral Cole stepped forward. "Our military will never accept alien rule. We will resist." Krell's large eyes blinked slowly. "A demonstration seems necessary." He touched a device on his wrist. The floating screen showed images from around the world. Major military bases suddenly erupted in flames as invisible weapons struck from orbit. Aircraft carriers sank in harbors. Nuclear missile silos collapsed inward. All happened in less than 30 seconds. "This is just 1% of our military capability," Krell said calmly. "Full resistance would result in unnecessary loss of human life. We value your species as a resource. Do not force us to damage that resource." The room fell silent. John felt cold rage building inside him. He looked at Lisa, who had tears in her eyes, but also determination on her face. They had been right all along, but it was too late to warn anyone. Alarms began to sound throughout the building. Secret Service agents rushed in, surrounding the president. "We have reports of alien ships landing at all major government centers," one agent reported. "They're taking control." "This meeting is over," Krell announced. "Your leaders will be relocated for processing and education. Civilian compliance is expected." As Zantary guards entered the room, Admiral Cole whispered to John and Lisa, "Get out now. Use exit plan Delta. We'll need people on the outside." John grabbed Lisa's arm and pulled her toward a side door as chaos erupted. They slipped into a maintenance corridor, just as Zantary troops began detaining everyone in the meeting room. "What now?" Lisa asked as they ran through the underground passage. "We find others who will fight back," John replied. "This isn't over." They emerged from a service entrance and saw Washington, D.C. transformed. Massive Zantary ships hovered above every government building. Troops marched through the streets. Earth's independence had ended in a single day. John and Lisa disappeared into the crowd, already planning their resistance. The aliens thought they had won, but they didn't understand humans. The real fight was just beginning. 1 year had passed since the Zantary took control of Earth. The world had changed completely. Alien buildings towered over human cities. Zantary soldiers patrolled the streets. People worked in mines and factories under alien supervision, digging up rare minerals to send to the stars. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, John Miller studied a map spread across a metal table. Red marks showed Zantary bases. Blue marks showed resistance hideouts. There weren't enough blue marks. Lisa Brown entered the underground room, followed by Army Captain Steve Jackson. Steve had been fighting in Africa when the takeover happened. He had gathered a group of soldiers and civilians and kept them hidden for months before joining the main resistance. The supply truck was hit, Steve said, his voice tired. "We lost the medical supplies and 2 good people." John looked up from the map. "What about the weapons?" "We got those through," enough to arm the Boston cell. Steve sat heavily in a chair. The past year had aged him. A scar ran down his face from a close encounter with a Zantary patrol. Lisa placed a tablet on the table. I've decoded more of their communications. They're planning to send another transport ship off-world next week, with human cargo. This was the most disturbing discovery they had made. The Zantary weren't just taking Earth's minerals. They were taking people too. Thousands had already disappeared, loaded onto massive ships. No one knew where they were sent or why. How many this time? John asked. 500, Lisa replied, from the Denver work camp. John stood up straight. Then we hit Denver. We can't stop the ships in orbit, but we can free the people on the ground. Kate Taylor, a former NASA engineer, joined them at the table. Since the occupation began, Kate had been working to understand and adapt Zantary technology. Her workshop was filled with alien devices taken from crashed scout ships and raided outposts. I modified the pulse disruptors, Kate said. They should disable the Zantary stun weapons for about 3 minutes. Not long, but maybe enough. John nodded. We move tomorrow night. Small teams. Quick strike. Get as many people out as possible. That night, John couldn't sleep. He walked through the resistance base, checking on supplies and speaking with fighters. Almost 200 people lived in the bunker, which had once been a government emergency facility. Some were soldiers like him. Others were regular people who refused to live under alien rule. He found Lisa in the communications room, still working. She monitored Zantary transmissions day and night, learning their language better than anyone else on Earth. You should rest, John told her. Lisa looked up with tired eyes. I found something strange. The Zantary are sending urgent messages to their home world. They sound worried. About what? I'm not sure. They keep using a word I don't recognize. Something about detection signals near the outer planets. Lisa pushed her hair back from her face. Maybe nothing, but it's the first time I've heard them sound concerned. John felt a small spark of hope. The aliens had seemed unbeatable for so long. Any sign of weakness was welcome news. The next evening, 5 teams prepared for the Denver mission. They loaded weapons and equipment into unmarked trucks. Captain Steve checked each fighter personally. Kate distributed the modified pulse disruptors, explaining how to use them. Remember, John told the group, our priority is freeing our people. We get in, release the prisoners, and get out. No unnecessary risks. As they prepared to leave, a young messenger ran into the loading area. Sir, Admiral Cole is making contact. He's alive. John had not heard from Admiral Cole since the day of the takeover. Many believed he had been killed. John rushed to the communications room, where Lisa was already working to secure the connection. A voice crackled through the static. Lieutenant Miller, do you read me? Admiral Cole, John replied, relief washing over him. We read you. Where are you? No time to explain. Cole said, I need you to get to these coordinates immediately. We found something that could change everything. John looked at the location data coming through. It was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. What could be there that would be worth such risk? Trust me, son, Cole continued as if reading his thoughts. This is what we've been waiting for. A chance to take back our world. John Miller stood on the deck of an old fishing boat as it moved slowly through the Pacific Ocean. The night was dark with no moon. Perfect for staying hidden from Zantary patrols. Captain Steve kept watch while Lisa studied a small radar device. Kate Taylor checked her equipment one last time. We're getting close, Lisa said. 2 miles ahead. John looked at the empty water ahead. Admiral Cole had been clear. Go to these exact coordinates and wait. He had promised answers but gave no details over the radio. It was risky leaving their mountain base, but if Cole was alive and had found something important, they had to take the chance. There's nothing out here, Steve said, scanning the horizon. Just empty ocean. As if in answer to his words, the water ahead began to bubble and churn. The small boat rocked as waves pushed against it. John grabbed the railing to steady himself. Something massive was rising from the depths. A metal platform broke the surface, water cascading off its edges. It was at least 100 feet wide, flat and gray. As it settled above the waves, a hatch opened in its center. A bright light shone upward, and a figure stood silhouetted against the beam. "Bring your boat alongside," called a familiar voice. Quickly. Minutes later, John, Lisa, Steve, and Kate stood on the platform with Admiral Cole. The older man looked thinner than before, with more gray in his hair, but his eyes were bright with excitement. "Sorry for the secrecy," Cole said as he led them toward the open hatch. "We couldn't risk the Zantary discovering this place." They descended a ladder into a large underwater facility. Dozens of people worked at computer stations or moved equipment. It looked like a military base, but unlike any John had seen before. "What is this place?" Lisa asked, staring at the advanced technology around them. "This was a secret research station before the invasion," Cole explained. "When the Zantary attacked, we went dark, cut all communications and power signatures. They never found us." He led them to a large room dominated by a circular table with a holographic display. Images of stars and planets floated above it. "3 days ago, we detected an unusual energy signature at the edge of our solar system," Cole said. "We sent a small submarine drone to investigate. What we found changes everything." He touched a control panel, and the hologram changed to show what looked like a space station. It was massive, with sections that seemed to spin slowly. "This isn't a Zantary structure," Cole continued. "It's been there for centuries, dormant until now. We believe it's some kind of relay beacon." "Whose is it?" John asked. "Another alien species." Cole smiled. "That's the incredible part. Look at this." The hologram zoomed in on a section of the station. Etched into the metal were symbols. Not alien writing, but English letters. Lisa stepped closer. "That's impossible. Humans haven't built anything like this." "Not yet," Cole said quietly. "But according to the date stamped next to those letters, we will. In about 200 years. The room fell silent as they processed this information. Kate was the first to understand. "You're saying this is from the future. Our future." Cole nodded. The drone managed to access some of its database before returning. "This station contains technical data sent back through time by our own descendants. They were facing extinction and used experimental time technology to send a warning and the knowledge we would need to survive." John's mind raced. But why put it at the edge of the solar system? Why not send the message directly to Earth? "Because the message wasn't meant for the whole world," Cole explained. "It was meant for a specific group who would understand what to do with it." And they did. He pressed another button, and the hologram changed again. Now it showed what looked like shipyards hidden among the asteroids and moons of the outer solar system. "For 50 years before the Zantary arrived, a secret coalition has been building these," Cole said, his voice filled with pride. "Using technology that shouldn't exist yet." The hologram showed ships, warships, thousands of them, hidden throughout the solar system. Lisa gasped. "We have a fleet." Cole nodded. "Not just any fleet. Nearly 500,000 ships, built in secret, crewed by millions who disappeared from official records. And now, they're ready." John stared at the holographic ships, a mixture of hope and disbelief washing over him. "Ready for what?" Admiral Cole's eyes hardened. "Ready to take back our planet." John stood at the viewport of a small transport ship as it moved through the darkness of space. 3 days had passed since the meeting with Admiral Cole. Now they were headed to see the secret fleet with their own eyes. Earth grew smaller behind them, a blue marble partly covered by Zantary ships that had no idea what was coming. "Still hard to believe," Steve said, joining John at the window. "All these years, a secret space navy being built right under our noses." John nodded, and under the Zantary's noses too. Lisa and Kate entered the bridge area. They had spent the journey studying the data from the future relay beacon. Their eyes were tired but excited. "The technology is amazing," Kate said. "Some of it works on principles we don't even have names for yet. Whoever sent this back in time gave us everything. Engine designs, weapon systems, shield technology." "And a warning," Lisa added. "The message says the Zantary didn't just take Earth in their timeline. They stripped it completely and killed most of humanity before moving on to other worlds." The pilot's voice came over the speaker. "We're approaching the main shipyard. Look to your right, toward the dark side of the moon." They all moved to the viewport. At first, they saw nothing but the gray surface of the moon. Then, as they passed into its shadow, lights appeared. Hundreds, then thousands of lights revealing the outline of massive structures built into and around the moon's surface. "How did they hide all this?" Steve whispered in awe. "The far side of the moon was always hidden from Earth," the pilot explained, "and our stealth technology keeps it hidden from the Zantary. We only power up sections when their scanners are facing away." As they drew closer, John could see the shipyards clearly. They were enormous, stretching for miles across the lunar surface. And inside these yards floated ships, not small ships like their transport, but massive warships that dwarfed anything he had ever seen. Their transport docked with the largest structure, a space station built inside a lunar crater. Admiral Cole met them as they stepped through the airlock. "Welcome to Artemis Base," he said with pride, "the heart of Operation Salvation Arc." He led them through corridors filled with people in uniforms John didn't recognize. Men and women moved with purpose, preparing for what was to come. "How many people know about this?" Lisa asked, watching the activity around them. "Globally, about 3 million, Cole replied. "Some were recruited directly. Others are the children and grandchildren of the original members, born and raised in these secret bases. And no one ever talked." Steve asked in disbelief. "When the future of your species depends on keeping a secret, you keep it," Cole said simply. They entered a massive control room with windows looking out over one of the shipyards. Officers monitored screens showing ship positions throughout the solar system. "The plan began 70 years ago," Cole explained. "A group of scientists detected the first signal from the relay beacon. At first, they thought it was alien. When they realized it was human, from the future, many didn't believe it. But the technical data it contained was too advanced to ignore. So they started building in secret," John said. Cole nodded. "Governments around the world contributed resources without fully understanding what they were for. Trillions of dollars diverted through thousands of fake projects. Millions of tons of materials shipped to space under cover of routine satellite launches." He pointed to a large screen showing the solar system. Small blue dots appeared everywhere, behind planets, among asteroid fields, in the clouds of Jupiter. "Each dot is a battle group," Cole said. 500,000 ships in total, ranging from small fighters to large carriers. "We've been building them for decades, hiding them throughout the solar system, waiting for the moment the Zantary would come." "But you didn't stop them from taking Earth," Lisa said, a hint of accusation in her voice. "We couldn't," Cole replied. "The beacon was clear. We had to let them establish their bases on Earth before striking. If we revealed ourselves too early, they would have called in their main fleet immediately. We weren't ready then." "And now?" John asked. Admiral Cole's face hardened with determination. "Now we are. In 3 days, we launch Operation Skyfall. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have, all focused on taking back our planet." John looked out at the massive ships in the shipyard. For the first time since the invasion, he felt real hope. Earth was not defenseless after all. Not anymore. The day of Operation Skyfall arrived. John Miller stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, the largest warship in Earth's secret fleet. Through the massive front window, he could see hundreds of other ships moving into formation. Admiral Cole sat in the command chair, giving orders in a calm voice that belied the importance of this day. "All battle groups report ready. said a young officer at the communications station. Cole nodded and pressed a button on his chair. His voice would now reach every ship in the fleet. "This is Admiral Cole. For decades, we prepared for this day. We built our ships in shadow. We trained in silence. We waited for the right moment. That moment has come. Today we take back our world." John looked at Lisa, who stood at a console translating Zantary communications. Steve Jackson commanded a squad of fighters launched from the Defiance. Kate Taylor was in the engine room, making sure the advanced technology from the future worked perfectly. "All ships, begin Phase 1. Cole ordered. "May God be with us all." Throughout the solar system, hidden ships powered up their engines. They emerged from their hiding places, from behind moons, from within asteroid fields, from the clouds of Jupiter. 500,000 warships of all sizes, built with technology centuries ahead of what the Zantary thought humans possessed. On Earth, the Zantary went about their business as usual. Grand Emissary Krell sat in his office in what had once been the United Nations building in New York. A junior officer rushed in, his 4 arms moving in patterns of distress. "Honored Emissary, our sensors detect multiple objects approaching Earth." Krell looked up with mild interest. "Debris? A meteor shower?" "No, sir. Ships. Thousands of ships. And they're not in our database." On board the Defiance, John watched the main screen as the fleet converged on Earth from all directions. The Zantary had only 20 large warships in orbit, with a few hundred smaller craft. They had never needed more to control Earth. "They're scrambling to respond," Lisa reported, listening to the alien communications. "They don't understand what's happening." Admiral Cole smiled grimly. "They thought Earth was helpless. Let's show them how wrong they were." The first wave of human ships entered Earth's orbit. They were smaller, faster vessels designed to take out the Zantary defense systems. They moved with incredible speed, firing weapons that cut through alien shields like they weren't there. "Their shields are failing," reported the tactical officer. "Our phase cannons are working exactly as the specs promised." On the main screen, John watched as 3 Zantary cruisers exploded in quick succession. The smaller alien ships tried to regroup, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer number of human vessels appearing from all directions. "Second wave, begin your approach," Cole ordered. The Defiance led the second wave, along with 100 other capital ships of similar size. As they moved toward Earth, the sky above the planet seemed to darken with vessels. People on the ground looked up in confusion, and then growing hope as they realized these ships were fighting the Zantary. Inside his command center, Grand Emissary Krell stared at the tactical display in shock. "Impossible. They can't have built these ships. They don't have the technology." "Sir, should we contact the collective for reinforcements?" asked his second-in-command. Krell's 4 hands moved rapidly over the controls. "Yes. Tell them we need the main fleet immediately. All of it." In orbit, the battle continued. Human ships took losses, but for every one that fell, 5 Zantary vessels were destroyed. The advanced technology from the future worked perfectly, giving Earth's forces an edge their enemies couldn't counter. On the Defiance's bridge, Lisa looked up from her console. "Admiral, I'm picking up a transmission from the Zantary. They're calling for their main fleet." Cole nodded, as if expecting this. "And now we spring the trap. Begin Phase 3. John looked at the Admiral. "What's Phase 3? Cole's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Why do you think we waited so long to attack? The future message told us exactly when the Zantary main fleet would be most vulnerable. Kate, is the temporal displacement device ready?" Kate's voice came over the speaker from the engine room. "Ready, Admiral. The calculations from the beacon are locked in." "Then it's time," Cole said, "to show the Zantary that humanity is not just fighting for today. We're fighting for our future." A massive Zantary fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. 5,000 warships, far more powerful than those orbiting Earth. They moved in perfect formation, ready to crush the human resistance. Grand Emissary Krell watched their approach on his display, a smile spreading across his alien face. "The humans fought well," he said to his officers. "But it ends now." On the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, Admiral Cole watched the same display with calm confidence. "Kate, activate the temporal displacement field." In the engine room, Kate Taylor initiated the device built from future technology. Energy surged through the ship and into a series of satellites positioned throughout the solar system. A wave of blue light spread outward, invisible to normal eyes but showing clearly on their special sensors. "Field extending," Kate reported, reaching the Zantary fleet in 3, 2, 1. The approaching enemy fleet suddenly froze. The ships seemed to shimmer, becoming partly transparent as if they were fading from reality. "What's happening to them?" John asked, staring at the screen. "The temporal displacement field traps them between dimensions," Cole explained. "Neither fully here nor fully gone. They can see us, but they can't reach us, can't fire on us, can't move." Lisa monitored the Zantary communications. "They're panicking. They don't understand what's happening." In his command center, Krell watched in horror as his reinforcements became useless. Earth's ships continued their attack on the remaining Zantary forces. Within hours, the last alien vessel in Earth orbit was destroyed or captured. "This is impossible," Krell whispered. "How did they advance so quickly?" A human voice responded over his communication system. "Not quickly, Emissary Krell. We've been preparing for this day for 70 years. Admiral Cole, John, Lisa, and a squad of soldiers transported down to Krell's command center. They found the alien leader surrounded by his few remaining guards. "Your choices are simple," Cole told him. "Unconditional surrender or join your fleet in dimensional limbo." Krell looked at the humans with new respect and fear. "You've won this battle, but the collective spans hundreds of worlds. They will send more ships." John stepped forward. "And we'll be ready for them too. The difference is, we're not interested in conquering other worlds. We just want ours back." The surrender of the Zantary forces took place 3 days later. Throughout the world, people emerged from their homes to see human ships in the sky instead of alien ones. Soldiers from the secret fleet landed to secure alien installations and free work camps. The occupation that had seemed unbreakable ended in less than a week. 1 month after the victory, John stood with Lisa, Steve, and Kate on the observation deck of a new space station orbiting Earth. Below them, the planet was returning to normal. Alien structures were being dismantled. Forests regrew where mining operations had scared the land. "Hard to believe it's over," Steve said, his arm in a sling from injuries during the final battle. "It's not over," Admiral Cole said, joining them at the window. "It's just beginning. The Zantary technology we've captured, combined with what we received from the future, humanity is about to make a giant leap forward." Lisa looked at the stars. "What about the people they took off-world? The thousands who disappeared?" "We found records in Krell's database," Cole replied. "We know where they were sent. A fleet is already preparing to go after them." Kate smiled. "And I've been studying the time technology. I think I understand how our descendants sent their message back. Maybe someday we'll thank them in person." John watched as a fleet of new Earth ships moved into formation nearby. They were heading toward the Zantary Collective, not for revenge but with an offer: peace through cooperation, or face a humanity that would never be conquered again. Far beyond the solar system, the displaced Zantary fleet hung in dimensional limbo, a permanent reminder of what happened when they underestimated Earth. The stars seemed brighter somehow as humanity took its place among them. No longer the primitive species the aliens had dismissed, but a force to be respected throughout the galaxy. As the first ships jumped to light speed, carrying Earth's message to the stars, John thought about how quickly things had changed. One day, aliens had darkened their skies, thinking Earth was helpless. The next, humanity had shown the universe that they were anything but.